On today's video, let's talk about one of the most important topics in Rise of Kingdoms, which troop type you should focus on. In this video, we're going to talk exactly why you want to focus on a specific set of troops, how to decide which type of troops you want to focus on, what are the advantages and disadvantages of every single type of troop, as well as some tips and advice depending on how much you spend on the game, whether you're a free-to-play player, low spender, medium spender, and big spender, what to do. Everything and anything that you need to know to make sure you have the best available troops out there with the best commander pairings possible. So if you're wondering which set of troops you should focus on, this is the video for you. Sit back, drop a like on the video. Hey there YouTube, welcome back to Gekko Gaming. We're back on the Jumper account for one of the most important topics I've not made a video about yet, which type of troop you should focus on in 2020. I'm a sponsored content creator by Rise of Kingdoms, and if you enjoy the content, drop a like on this video. And did you know that 56.5% of you are not subscribed? Welcome to all the new viewers. I hope you guys find it in yourselves to drop a subscription and turn on the bell. Make sure you select all notifications because we stream, we cast, we make videos every single day about Rise of Kingdoms. So one of the most important topics in the game is troop training and commander specific troops. A lot of folks have asked more than once which commanders they should focus on, what they should do, how they should do, so forth and so on. And most content creators recommend to focus on a specific set of troops, but don't really explain why that is. So the reason the decision of which troop you should focus on should happen as quickly as possible is because based on that decision, you'll know how to invest in the commanders that will be available for you in game. Now, some folks like to collect all commanders, which is fantastic. But unless you are a huge spender, maxing all of these commanders and having multiple types of sets of rallies, open field marches, and all that stuff is extremely expensive and not that easy to attain in a short period of time. I can tell you that the biggest spender that I know of had, well, I don't know if he's the biggest anymore, but the number that I've heard that was the craziest one is 10 legendary commander sculptures within 80 days. But that required of the guy to buy every single day, the whole shop and all that stuff, get every possible commander available out there, every possible type of everything, and he did. But not everybody can be like that. And so let's start talking about your choices. The reason you want to pick a specific type of troop is because you want to focus your commander investment on that set. However, there's one type of troop that is almost a must regardless on what you focus on, which is cavalry. Whether you pick to focus on cavalry or you pick to focus on archers or infantry, cavalry play a huge role in Rise of Kingdoms because they are the most useful type of troops for every possible type of thing in this game. From Ark of Osiris matches to barbarian hunting to doing events to everything along the way, cavalry dominate this game. The reason for that is they move ridiculously fast and they are the type of troops that has the most epic commanders available in the game. So whether you pick to go infantry, archers, or cavalry, as an early advice for you guys starting Rise of Kingdoms now or throughout your beginning, don't slack on the cavalry. As a matter of fact, my recommendation for training is focus on cavalry when you start pushing early on, specifically tier 3s and tier 4s, because those will come in very handy when you're going to need to do pretty much anything. And you can see me doing what I'm saying, as in this account, my cavalries are more than my infantries and archers combined. The reason for that, once more, being to be able to move on the map quicker and do more things, more events, so forth and so on. So the first set of troops we'll talk about are cavalry. In general, you should focus early on training a good amount of cavalry so you can do events throughout time. However, if you choose to also go with cavalry as your focus for the continuation of your game, then you're looking at a very diverse amount of legendary commanders as well as epic commanders. We're talking Cao Cao, Minamoto, the cheapest legendary commander to max out. If you spend money in the game, he costs $193, I believe. And definitely the cheapest one out there to expertise. But again, if you're not spending money in the game, there's still a lot of options for you in cavalry. Whether it's Minamoto, Cao Cao, Attila and Takeda are up on deck as well. You have Saladin, Khan. All of these are cavalry-focused legendary commanders. And on the epic department, Baybars, Belisarius, Pelagius, and you have such a crazy, and on top of all these, they work really well with the types of leadership commanders such as Scipio, such as Osman, even such as Sun Tzu, who's an infantry commander. At the end of the day, these three epics right here are really going to put in a huge chunk of work for you on the open field as a either free-to-play, low spender, or even big player. I can tell you that in Arc of Osiris, Belisarius is super popular. He is the arc carrying god. So cavalry as a first choice is one of those choices which is the cheapest one, the one that you have more availability and diversity for low spenders. And the way that I would work about things is if you are a low spender, maxing out Cao Cao is fairly simple per se with the daily purchases. If you're not spending that much, you're focusing only on the gem supply and maybe one or two more things, that's completely fine. Cao Cao comes out of legendary commanders in the gold keys, so you're good in that department. But if you're talking about where to put your legendary commander sculptures early on, you kind of want to hold off a little bit for the first round of commanders that comes out. That will be Richard, and then you have Yi Song-ye. And from there, you're going to start seeing the likes of Genghis Khan and Saladin. Genghis Khan being a wheel commander and Saladin coming out of Mightiest Governor. All you have to do really is to get 10 sculptures of Saladin in one Mightiest Governor, top 15 placement, or in 3 Mightiest Governors, get 335, something like that. But once you have your Saladin, you focus on this guy, get him to the 5-5-5-1 situation, like you can see I have in this account right here. And then from there, you'll start working on your Genghis Khan to get that Genghis Khan up there. Now, as a low spender, you'll probably end up working on Saladin for a little while and then on Khan for a long time. But these two will really pay dividends once you start working your way through this. As a middle spender and a big spender, the recommendation is still the same, 5-5-5-1 Saladin, expertise Khan. And of course, after that happens, you have a little bit of a break. Alexander and Constantine come out, and then Edward Tamarius come out. And from there come Attila Takeda, a must expertise as a big spender. As a medium to low spender, you might be considering going with Takeda over Attila, as Takeda is the wheel commander. You'll be able to spin more and more than likely get him. And Attila, being a Mightiest Governor commander, he's good, but he's really must expertise. If you choose to go cavalry, you have a very diverse set of commanders to work with. You have a lot of epics to work with as well, and you can create 5 marches fairly quickly with cavalries to smash in the open field and in any war event situation you're in. Your next choice is infantry. Now, we mentioned cavalry are all about speed. Infantry are all about tank. Infantry commanders are the garrison commanders, are the tank commanders, some of them are damage dealing commanders, but not as much as the crazy damage per second that you see out of cavalries, who are also movement commanders. Infantry are more healing commanders. They're the ones that you use to garrison structures, to more than likely garrison your wall, not Richard. Richard doesn't go on the wall of your city. Everywhere else you can try to put him, but that's a separate story. If you choose to go infantry, you will have a slight advantage early in the game. The reason for that is most folks focus on cavalry, and infantry counters cavalry. So by working on your infantry early on, you could have a very good lead early in the game. However, as time progresses, infantries become more used as tank commanders, or as the ones who get swarmed intentionally and do a lot of counter damage, who heal a lot. And these types of commanders are the likes of Richard I, We have Charles Martel in the gold keys, who is the counter damage god. And from there, as I mentioned, you have Alexander, who comes out in the Wheel of Fortune, and then Constantine, who comes out in the Mightiest Governor. After some time goes by, you have Leonidas and Guan Yu available as well. And truly, out of all of these commanders, the ones that are really impressive are the ones who do garrison work. Richard is the god of tanking and healing like no one's business. He's usually our second recommendation to expertise in the game. And from there, we have folks like Alexander, who is a very strong damage dealing commander, the one that really does the brunt force damage as an infantry, and Constantine, one of the most underrated early on commanders in terms of garrison, but now one of the gods in this game. If we talk about epic commanders a little bit, unfortunately the epic department of infantries and archers as well lacks a little bit, as it only has Sun Tzu and Yulji as the two commanders available for you. However, Sun Tzu is the strongest epic commander in the game. Again, because of his ability to AoE as well as to hold a structure fairly well with his garrison skill tree. So if you go with the path of infantry, you're picking to be tanky, you're picking to be the target, you're picking to be the garrison person. That is not a bad thing. A lot of infantry players have found a lot of success on the open field as well, but infantry are super slow, and more often than not, folks tend to stay away from infantry because they know that those are usually the tank marches that are meant to distract you. Your third and final option are archers. Now, archers are the most underrated, underappreciated, and underloved type of troops in Rise of Kingdoms. Why? They're the third one in the commander's cycle. It starts with cavalry, and then goes infantry, and then archers. Problem is, by the time you got to archers, you're like over 100 and something days in the game. And so, to make matters worse, the only thing you have as an epic commander is Herman and Kusunoki, who are good commanders, but not as good as the cavalry guys and as the infantry guys, truthfully. When it comes to legendaries, though, the number one recommendation to expertise first is indeed Yi Song-ye, a archer commander, and the reason he is such an important commander is his expertise AoE in circular area. That is uncontested the best expertise in the game. It's used at every level. You'll never see YSG being put down, and pretty much you can say the same about Richard. The problem is, until Edward and Tamaris arrive, which is 100+ days later, I believe more than that, by the way, you're stuck pretty much with him and El Cid. Now, El Cid is a very underrated commander. He is available in gold keys. As a matter of fact, I think I can skill him here because of gold keys. And truthfully, he's super useful with Yi Song-ye early on in the game, as people use infantry to counter cavalry, but archers counter infantry. And so an El Cid Yi Song-ye rally early on destroys all of the infantry garrisons, and what the top tier of the game used early on in the game. They used either this or Freddy Yi Song-ye with full archers. That's a conversation for another video. By the time all the time passed by, you'll finally get Edward and Tamaris. Edward being a very, very strong primary commander who works really, really well with YSG and with Tamaris. And then after a long wait, and Attila Takeda smashing everything, you'll finally get Ramses and Artemisia. Ramses being an important primary commander that does tons of damage and very, very useful commander. And Artemisia is slowly becoming one of the better garrison commanders in the game. After laying down all your choices, you need to understand that the choices you make are for you to be able to enjoy the game. For you to enjoy the game, you need to set yourself, first of all, a realistic expectation of how much you're going to invest into the game. How many legendary commander sculptures you can get along the way. If you're someone who is a lesser spender, someone who's looking to be free to play and all that, your best choice is to stick with cavalry, as you have more epic commanders which you can work with early on and throughout the game. If you're someone who's looking to be a little bit more of a moderate spender or even a heavy spender, you can decide to start off with cavalry or even infantry and then branch into 2 types of troops. It really depends on how many legendary commanders you'll be able to max out. I would say that I am a archer commander. The reason I'm an archer dude is because I felt like they're very underappreciated and someone has to take that role. I believe that the leader of JWM agreed with that statement too. He is also an archer leader. And from there, the stronger ones currently being cavalry due to Attila Takeda. The infantry guys are really doing a lot of work, but cavalry is predominantly the more appreciated type in Rise of Kingdoms. If you ask me, make a choice that fits your game style. Make a choice that fits your spending. Make a choice you will be happy with. But remember the roles of each type and the availability of commanders of them. Cavalry, very fast, a lot of damage, the cheapest legendary commander in the game if you spend money, and a lot of epic commanders. Infantry, very tanky, a lot of heals, very, very useful for every type of event. Richard is really the leader of all events that require you to survive and stay alive, as well as Garrison, among other things. He's the primary commander of a lot of folks in Osiris League. They're on top of that very slow, but as they're slow, they also make that back with a lot of damage to the fastest commander, the fastest troops out there, which is cavalry. Archers are strictly AoE, a lot of DPS out of them, but unfortunately because they get countered by cavalry, they play a very small role in the game, as Attila Takeda, being the strongest march in the game right now, is having a very, very easy time against the archers, although she is here to change that. But as a mightiest governor commander, she's not an easy one to max out, and she's definitely not one that's for everybody. I have the possibility of expertising her, but I have yet to decide whether or not she's worth it or not. I hope this video helped you a little bit understand what types of troops exist out there. If you're still left with questions, comments, anything along the way, leave me a comment down below. I'm Gekko, I'm out of here. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Drop a like on it before you leave. Join our Discord in the description below, and I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. Take care. Peace.